see it. We've taken our show on the road. Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Charles Barkley. These guys will have much to say as they weigh in on Game 4 in just a minute. But let's set the table for the night. Talk to the sideline reporters who have both teams covered, the Warriors and the Rockets. Start with Golden State's side of things, and David Aldridge. DA.
Well, EJ, the news came out about half an hour ago that Andre Iguodala, despite the best efforts of the Warriors training staff, is not going to play in Game 4 after suffering that left leg contusion in the second half of Game 3 on Sunday. Now, he came in and got treatment last night. He got treatment this morning. He's been in treatment most of the afternoon. The leg just hasn't responded enough to the point where they feel comfortable putting him out there. So the Warriors have to decide. Either Nick Young or their very impressive young big man Kevon Looney are the likely replacements for Iguodala. The differences are obvious. Young is a much more talented offensive player, but not as good defensively, whereas Looney has been outstanding defensively and is not the threat offensively that Nick Young would be. So it's a decision that Steve Kerr is going to make. Either way, the bench gets much more reduced without Andre Iguodala there, and the Hamptons lineup is really diminished because he's been such a big part of that. Now with the story about the Rockets, let's go over to Kristen Ledlow.
Well, DA, those Warriors took a 2-1 lead after that commanding 41-point win here at Oracle in Game 3. And now the Rockets know they need to tie the series before it shifts back home. But despite that narrative surrounding the series that concerns the adjustments the Rockets could make, Coach D'Antoni and his team have maintained the position that they won't stray too far from the system that won 65 games this season. They'll be who they are, but they'll be better. Here's what else Coach D'Antoni had to say when he addressed the
media. You got to make some adjustments. You got to do certain things that we can do better. But we can't miss 23 shots in the paint. You can't turn the ball over 20 times. Just those two stats alone. Last night we'd have got beat probably on the road at any city in the NBA. So you can't do that. Not against these guys. They're not going to let you. To beat these guys, and they're good. We have to have our A game. We had our C game, and you're not going to do it, especially on their court. So, again, I try to look on the bright side. The bright side is we can play much better, and we have to.
And it was in the fourth quarter of Game 3 that D'Antoni not only pulled his starters, but he told them to get their minds right for Game 4. James Harden, though, again maintains the position that his mindset has never wavered.
Always, never changes. We might get whooped by 40, we might lose by 2, we might win by 20, but our same swagger, our same confidence is always there.
The Rockets are averaging 16.7 turnovers, which is the highest of any team that's in the conference finals. So expect fewer turnovers, a more physical presence on the defensive end, and for them to get back sooner in transition on D. Ernie?
Yeah, thank you very much, Christian. Yeah, that turnover situation, 17 a game in this series. They came in averaging the fewest in the playoff field, but again, more turnovers than assists in Game 3. Mike D'Antoni says all the pressure's on Golden State. Shaq, you buying what he's selling?
Not really. Pressure's really on the Rockets. Some people have the Rockets favored. They can play much better. The question is, we've been asking this question all week, which Rockets team is going to show up. He made some great points. They do have to play better. Can't turn the ball over 20 times against this Golden State team because they take pride in playing defense, getting out, getting this building involved. But, Mike D'Antoni knows what he's doing, but his guys have to come out and play their A game. If they play their A game and Golden State plays their A game, it'll be a very competitive game.
Well, I told you, Ernie, that one thing concerned me going into the series was the turnovers, because when you turn the ball over against the Warriors, it leads to 8-10 point runs. And that stat, what you said earlier about they came in averaging the least amount, that doesn't matter. You're playing against better teams. You have to, stuff that worked the first round, second round won't work against the Golden State Warriors, but they're a terrific, elite defensive team. And James gets so lackadaisical at times with the ball. You have to be crisp on all your passes. You can't hope to get fouled. They got to come out and be aggressive. Listen, I just want to see a good game tonight. I just want to see the Rockets be aggressive. Don't just come get punched in the mouth and just keep backing up.
Let me ask you about the Andre Iguodala situation. How big, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big is the loss of Iguodala for Game 4?
I would say it's about a 6. Obviously, I think he actually plays better he plays better with the second unit. When he goes back in with the second unit and Looney kind of goes into first, he plays better with them because he gives them versatility in ball handling. So all of a sudden, Livingston, himself, they all handle the basketball, and then they put KD with the second unit, and he just becomes a primary scorer. So for me, it's going to hurt their second unit because even though he starts, he does play the majority of the minutes at times with that second unit, which can be effective, and they can be explosive just as well as the first unit.
I'm going to say it's an 8. Andre Iguodala, yes,
wow, okay.
Andre Iguodala to me is a super reliable others. You know you can't win games, you know you can't win championships without the super reliable others. He's always making the right plays, always there defensively. You know, he can give, Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson a break and saying, I'll guard the guy that's, mainly on the ball. He's always there.
Yeah, I think we probably see Bell a little bit more even because he's a good defender at that position. So you'll see a lot of different lineups, I think, for Steve Kerr.
It's a 6, it's an 8, it's a 4. Oh, so you don't think it's a big deal? Put much stock in.
Listen,
in his
as long as
absence.
they got Steph, Klay, and Kevin, they're gonna be favored to win games. They have won games without Steph Curry. And listen, Iguodala's a good player, but they win games. They're 5-1 without Steph in the playoffs. So they're not. Now they got Steph back full eruption, so they're going to be fine.
Speaking of Steph, 35 points the other night, and really came alive in the second half, and got everybody's attention on this drive when he declared whose house this was, and it was very un-Steph-like to see that kind of a description and those words coming out of his mouth. In fact, he told ESPN that his mom had sent him that video, had told him that he needs to wash his mouth out with soap for using such language.
How did she know he cussed?
I think anybody who can
watch the game
watch
later,
that video, anybody who can watch that video knows.
Steph has always been a class act. I forgive him for that. It's just part of the game. A lot of times when you're in the game, you're in the moment, you do things that are very uncharacteristic. Steph, I forgive you.
And it made me think of when you first started with us, and you let one slip on the air.
No, I didn't.
And
I didn't.
And there was a certain Philip Harrison who called it,
Yeah.
and then you came on the next segment with the bar of soap.
Yeah.
So they're always watching.
Ernie, to me, man, this is all about the Rockets tonight. This is. We can talk about Iguodala. We can talk about those guys. Man, the Rockets got to come to compete. You can't lose a playoff game by 40 points. I think that's almost impossible. I mean, you got to have some competitive spirit. You got to have some pride. I'm really hoping the Rockets bring it tonight because, when we came into this series, we thought it was going to be a great series, very competitive. But, man, if they come in here tonight and get stomped in the face and don't put up any pushback, this thing going to be quick and painless.
Well, Steve Kerr certainly expects that there is going to be some force from the other side. These were his comments to his team in the locker room after Game 3.
Next game is going to be the hardest game. It's going to be the hardest game of the series, and you know what's coming. So keep that same intensity, that same level of fairness, alertness. You come in, watch the tape tomorrow, and rest up.
Because teams that go down in a series 3-1 are 11-233 all time.
Wow.
And that's what the Rockets are trying to avoid tonight.
But if they win tonight, Ernie,
that's what I'm saying.
Back to a level playing field.
That's why you can see in part when Mike D'Antoni talks about there being pressure on the Golden State side. I wouldn't say all the pressure's on Golden State,
no,
but there's a degree of them to win this game at home.
But usually when the team gets smacked around, they respond.
They respond, but I'm saying this: if I'm up 2-1, I don't have pressure because even if I go down to your place and lose, I'm still coming back home again. So
that's coach speak.
Yeah, that's
coach speak. Because Kenny, let me ask you this question.
I would never be worried.
After watching these first 3 games, would you say the Warriors have a better chance of winning in Houston, or the Rockets have a better chance of winning here in Oakland?
The Warriors have a better chance of winning.
Given the fact that we saw Golden State win in Houston,
so all the pressure's on the Rockets tonight.
All the pressure's on the Rockets.
Yes.
You heard it, Ernie. You said it. 11-233. There's 2 things about it. I was fortunate to be on that 11, part of that 11, looking to my left. But that is it. if we honestly, Ernie, if you would have read that stat, and when we were in the Houston Rocket teams playing them, I think we would have lost. I don't think we would have. I didn't realize it was that difficult to come back from 3-1.
Yeah, but
that
there was a huge difference in those teams. Our teams were pretty much even. They're not as good as this team. They can't afford to get down 3-1. If teams are marginally evenly and it's a play here or there, you're not going to beat this team. I don't think there's a team.
Been a play here or there.
You're not going to beat this team 3 times in a row.
Couple other notes to consider before we hit the Twitter machine, Jeremy. Okay, 16 straight wins at home in the postseason. That's what Golden State's got going. That is the NBA record. The Rockets did not lose consecutive games this season when Harden and Paul were both in the lineup. So it hasn't happened all year. They're going to try to avoid that again tonight, or else it's a 3-1 deficit. Now you can crank up the Twitter machine, Jeremy. Yeah, what was happening here? Are you aware of all this?
No, what's going on?
When they Googled Shaq, it said you were in sync.
Oh yeah, I did see that. They had you that you were
Actually,
NSYNC.
you know what?
See, Google had you as a member of it.
Of an NSYNC.
Yeah.
You know what? NSYNC and the Backstreet
Joey
Boys.
Fatone says, who knew Shaq was in NSYNC? Does that mean I played basketball?
Yes, you do, Joey.
Joey's a good
Justin
dude.
Timberlake.
Hey, Justin
Yes.
Timberlake, I had to buy a box to see you perform tomorrow night because these Rockets didn't get swept. You better put on a good show, my brother.
And
Cost
we've
me a
seen the
fortune
show.
to get
I
a
saw
box.
the show in L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is-
Y'all, who did this?
Yeah, this is
I did it, Lance. Actually, you know what?
Was this part? Did you have a hand in this?
No, actually, you know what? When they were young, they recorded their first album at my house, at the studio at my house. NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. True story.
I believe that.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Hey, you gonna give me a good deal on your house, brother?
Yeah.
That's
22 million.
That's how you had on earlier.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You did look a little NSYNC-ish there.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hey, Justin, put on a good show tomorrow night for me and the
Oh, he will. Justin
fellas.
Singh.
KD
Cry me a
scored
river.